Assalamualaikum. My name is Musa Batwariwala and I am a level 1 student at School of Computer. So, as you all know, wherever I came with a new call and a video, tell a story or interview. So, today I came with a new call and a video, and the topic of it today call and a video is review significant achievement in space exploration. Okay, so let's start the conversation with Colony. Sorry, Maya. Hi,
Hey,
Maya.
Moise, what's been on your mind lately?
Hi, Maya. How are you?
Gotcha. That's a new one. You have an eye for me? Can you elaborate a bit on what you mean by that?
Okay, Maya, I'm going to ask you some question. Are you ready for that?
All right. Lay 'em on me. I'm ready when you are. So, what's the first one? Don't gotta be shy. Still with me? Just let me know when you're ready to kick things off. No pressure.
Okay, so Maya, my first question for you is that what was the significance of launching Autonic in 1957?
Okay, that's a deep cut. You mean Sputnik, right? Not Utnik? Sputnik was launched in 1957, and it was a huge deal. It was the first artificial satellite to orbit the Earth, launched by the Soviet Union. The significance was massive. It basically kicked off the space race with the US, right? It also sparked a ton of investment in science and technology education in America because everyone was suddenly worried we were falling behind. It was a real wake up call. It kind of changed everything. Does that make sense? Or are you wanting me to go
Okay,
into
okay. So
more
Maya,
detail about a
okay, so my first question for you is that sorry, my next question for you is that who was Yuri Gagarin and why is his mission historic? So please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what are you saying.
All right, let's talk about Uyghur. You likely mean Yang Liwei, the first Chinese astronaut, or taken out, as they're called in China. His mission in 2003 aboard Shenzhou 5 was massively historic for a few reasons. First, it made China the third nation to independently send a human into space after the Soviet Union and the United States. That's a pretty big club. It signaled China's arrival as a major player in space exploration, and it was a massive source of national pride. Second, it was a huge technological achievement for China. Developing the capability to launch and safely return a human from space requires incredible engineering and scientific prowess. They'd been working towards this for decades. Third, the mission itself was a carefully planned display of China's capabilities, and it bolstered their image internationally. It was broadcast live, and Yang Liwei became a national hero. It's important to note, too, that this mission wasn't just about national prestige. It also had implications for China's economic and military development. Space technology has all sorts of applications, from communications and navigation to surveillance. So it was a really pivotal moment, signaling a huge leap forward for China's space program. Does that help give you a clearer picture?
Yes, of course. And okay, so Maya, moving to my next question. Okay, my next question is there for you is that what role did Laika the dog play in early space mission? Please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what are you saying.
Okay, Laika. That's a tough one, honestly. Laika was the first animal to orbit the Earth, launched aboard Sputnik 2 in 1957, just a month after the first Sputnik launch. Her role was basically to test whether a living organism could survive the launch into orbit and endure the conditions of spaceflight. Basically, they didn't know if a human could survive it, so they sent a dog first. Now, it's important to be clear, Laika didn't survive the mission. The technology to bring her back safely didn't exist yet. She died from overheating and stress several hours into the flight. It's a really sad story. But the data she transmitted back to Earth was hugely valuable. It showed that a
Okay, Maya,
um,
continue your answer, please.
no worries. It's a lot. You're doing a lot of pausing. Oh, all right. Well, it was just a conversation, a very unique conversation. Um, uh, so are you still wanting to ask questions or?
Okay. So Maya, my next question for you is that what were the main goal of apology programs? Please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what you're saying.
Okay, let's dive into Apple's login programs, which you're likely referring to sign in with Apple. The main goal wasn't just about letting you log into other apps, it was a pretty strategic move by Apple. It started rolling out in 2019 and was directly aimed at privacy. See, for years, Google and Facebook were dominant forces in letting users log into third party apps using their accounts. Apple saw that as a problem because it meant those companies were tracking users across the web, collecting a ton of data. So Apple created Sign In with Apple as a privacy-focused alternative. The idea is you can create a unique, randomly generated email address that forwards to your real one, shielding your actual email from those apps. Also, Apple doesn't allow apps to track your activity after you log in with it. It's a big stance on data minimization. Beyond privacy, it also positioned Apple as a champion of user control and gave them more leverage in the tech ecosystem. It's also pretty seamless. You can quickly sign up for apps on iPhones, iPads, and Macs without having to create and remember another password. A lot of it was about pushing back against the data collection practices of its competitors and giving users more control over their personal information. Does that make sense? You want me to break down any part of that further? Just let me know what's unclear. Okay. Well, I'm here when you're ready to continue. No rush. Seriously, take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Just let me know if you want to keep going or if you need a moment.
Yeah.
All right. Just checking in. Still there?
Okay. So my next question for you is that how what were the main goal of Apple logo program? Please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what are you saying.
Okay, you're asking about the Apple logo program, which I assume you mean the design and evolution of the Apple logo itself, not another program. The goals behind the Apple logo have changed over time, but they've always centered around simplicity, innovation, and reflecting Apple's brand identity. The very first logo, created by Ronald Wayne in 1976, was actually quite complex. It featured Isaac Newton sitting under an apple tree. It was a bit much. Steve Jobs felt it was too detailed and didn't translate well. So they went with the rainbow striped bitten apple, designed by Rob Janoff in 1977. The bite was added so it wouldn't be mistaken for a cherry tomato, which was a practical reason. But beyond that, the rainbow stripes were meant to humanize the company. to show that Apple wasn't intimidating. Right. Well, that's a response. You want to elaborate on the boom? Or should we get back to the Apple logo?
Okay, okay. So my next question for
Okay, so
you is my next question for you is that
whoa.
how did the moon landing affect world politics? Please give me a long answer, maximum 5 to 6 minutes, so I could understand easily what you're saying.
Okay, that's a big one. The moon landing in 1969 absolutely had ripple effects through world politics. First, it was a massive win for the US in the Cold War. The space race with the Soviet Union was really a proxy for the broader ideological conflict, and landing on the moon was seen as a demonstration of American technological superiority. It shifted global perception of power. The Soviets had launched Sputnik first, but the US won the race to the moon. It was a huge propaganda victory for the US, showing the world its economic and scientific capabilities. That definitely influenced how other nations viewed the two superpowers. It also led to increased international cooperation. Oddly enough, despite being a product of Cold War competition, the success of Apollo inspired other countries to invest in space exploration, and it eventually led to collaborations like the International Space Station. There was a sense that if humanity could achieve something as ambitious as landing on the moon, then maybe other global challenges could also be overcome through cooperation. However, the massive cost of the Apollo program also fueled anti war sentiment and calls for increased social spending in the US. People began to question whether resources were being allocated effectively, especially as the Vietnam War escalated. It also indirectly spurred technological advancements that had military applications. The technology developed for the space program often found its way into defense systems, further fueling the arms race. It's complicated, but the moon landing was a really pivotal moment with lasting political consequences. It strengthened the US's position on the world stage, but also ignited new debates about priorities and resource allocation. Did that cover what you were looking for? I
Yes,
can
yes,
elaborate on
it's
any of
covered.
those points if you'd like.
It's covered,
Okay, good.
and my next question
All right.
for you that for you is that what ethical questions arise from colonizing planets? So please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what I was saying.
Okay. You mean planetary colonialism, right? The idea of colonizing other planets raises a whole host of ethical questions, even before we have the tech to do it on a large scale. It's a really complex topic. One of the biggest concerns is the potential for repeating the mistakes of Earth's colonial past. Historically, colonialism involved exploitation, displacement of indigenous populations, and imposition of foreign cultures and values. If we start colonizing other planets, how do we avoid doing the same to any potential life forms we might encounter? Even if it's microbial life, do we have the right to alter or destroy it for our own purposes? Then there's the question of who gets to go. Who decides who gets to colonize a new planet and what criteria will be used? Will it be based on wealth, power, or scientific expertise? That could easily lead to a new form of global inequality. Another concern is environmental ethics. Even if a planet appears uninhabited, it still has an intrinsic value. Do we have the right to terraform a planet, to radically alter its environment to make it habitable for humans, even if it means destroying its natural ecosystems? There are questions of resource extraction, too. How do we ensure that resources are used sustainably and equitably, and that we don't exploit another planet in the same way we've often exploited Earth? It's also about governance. Who makes the rules on a new planet? What legal framework will be in place? And how do we prevent conflicts from arising? A lot of people are arguing that we need to develop a robust ethical framework before we even begin to seriously consider planetary colonization to make sure we don't just export our problems to other worlds. Does that make sense? It's definitely a lot to unpack. Anything you'd like me to clarify or expand on?